Good morning and welcome to Jab, 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 Right Hook, a weird name for a webinar, but it's all going to make sense. If you've ever had anything to do with Gary Vaynerchuk or Gary V's material, read any of his books, watched any of his podcasts or videos or any of that sort of stuff that he produces, and it's all really about how giving more towards a customer, a client, or a potential customer or client actually gains more over a period of time. So I'm going to share my screen right now and let us get underway. My name's Dante St. James, and I'm really looking forward to this one because there's a lot of fun to be had, even though there's quite a lesson to be had in here as well. First of all, a quote from the man himself, Gary Vaynerchuk: there no longer is a difference between who you are and what you do. This is really important because in the world of small business, now who you are is just as important as who you as the things you're doing, who you present yourself as your business being, your values, the things that you think are important as a business owner, apart from just simply making money, are equally as important as the things you sell on the shop front or the consultations that you're trying to book on your website. What we're going to cover this morning is that great marketing is a lot about telling a story. The fact that we need less right hooking and more jabbing. Most businesses still don't understand social media. That's a really sad one, but it's actually really easy to fix as well. The fact that Facebook is still grossly misunderstood, that less when it comes to content is more, that content may be king, but context is what God is when it comes to content, at least online. And social media is not actually the distribution channel of messages that we thought it was going to be. First of all, though, this is brought to you by Business Station and the Australian Small Business Advisory Services Digital Solutions Program. It's an initiative by the Australian Government delivered in WA by Business Station, Queensland by Regional Development Australia Brisbane, and the Northern Territory by Treaty Business Consulting. You can watch this a little bit later on YouTube, either through the Business Station channel or my own one, Dante St. James. I've got all my things up there. Must be about 150 of them by now. Business Station, probably more like 400. So they've got all the material from all of our advisors and presenters on there. So please do go exploring. I do invite you to do that. But if you are watching this later on through YouTube, please pop a comment down below if you've got any questions. And also hit that subscribe button and the bell notification just so you'll be notified when new videos do come through. I'm doing about 5 of these a week at the moment. So there's tons of material coming out, not to mention all the stuff that the other advisors are bringing through as well. But if you are live right now, and there's quite a few of you on Zoom right now, you've got the chat window and the Q&A window are open. So please do ask any questions along the way if you've got them. A bit about me, educated through the University of New South Wales, Sydney in marketing, in business information systems, the Chartered Institute of Marketing, done about 7 different certificates with them. University of, New South Wales TAFE has been where I get a lot of these smaller certifications along the way just to keep my skills sharp. I work with Facebook as a lead trainer, both in their community training program, on their Boost with Facebook Australia group, which is open to all business owners in Australia to join and help get some support and some insights in how to better use the Facebook family of apps for their marketing for their business, as well as being a digital marketing associate and media planner and buyer for Facebook Australia. Google their digital springboard program, and as well a bunch of government programs such as this one, the ASBAS Digital Solutions. First up, you have to understand the concepts that are going to be used in here. So when we're talking about the jab, we're talking about the most common and repetitive punch in boxing. It softens up an opponent, that should say, allowing for a more substantial blow to be given with greater impact and greater effect later on. So it's like there's lots of them. Jabs, jabs, jabs are always going on. They're the most common punches giving in boxing. Now, Gary Vaynerchuk is a big fan of sport and loves his boxing and mixed martial arts and all that. I don't like boxing. I don't like any sort of violent sports at all. So some of these metaphors may sit comfortably or uncomfortably with some people, but I'll clarify what these mean in terms of marketing very shortly. And we'll move well away from the boxing metaphors. The right hook, though, is a powerful punch that is only effective when the opponent's guard is down after becoming tired or affected by the impact of many smaller punches or jabs beforehand. So the idea is here, lots of jabs, not many right hooks. So take that thought in to when we go into the idea of what that means for marketing. So great marketing is about telling a story. We hear story, 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 so much about story lately. The idea about story comes from the fact that we don't trust ads anymore and haven't done probably since the 1970s. After we learned that smoking was actually deadly and going to kill us, we all those 1950s ads that were telling us that 9 out of 10 doctors recommend that you smoke Camel cigarettes to have better health. We then realized that actually advertising can't be trusted. It actually might be lying flatly to our faces. So as we've moved on, we've learned in the last year that advertising of those, we call them millennials now, the under 35s, who are the biggest component of the workforce, followed just slightly behind by Generation X, as some of us start to get a little bit older and retiring. We ask them, do you trust ads? In this particular study by Ivo Majors, and 63% have little trust in ads at all. Over 28% said they don't have any trust whatsoever in ads. So you add that 68 plus 63 plus 28, you got the vast majority of people under 35 years old do not trust advertising in any way, shape, or form. It's not even worth mentioning the people who do trust them or trust them completely. It just simply is too small a number. So what then is trusted more than advertising? It's the things that we call social proof endorsement and comparison. So things like recommendations, reviews, conversations that we have on social media through comment threads, that sort of thing. Endorsements through celebs, influencers, our friends actually positioning these products to us saying, this is really good, you should try it. Influencers who we happen to trust telling us you should try this as a great product, even if they're being paid for it. Isn't that interesting? We know that an influencer is being paid to promote a brand, but we trust them more than an ad from that brand. Crazy, isn't it? Comparisons, we like to look at things like aggregators. So places that put together all these different kinds of software and compares them side by side. So which customer relationship management platform will I go? It's probably not the one that I've got the ads for. It's going to be the one that I look at side by side between all those different options and know which one is the one that I actually want. And then booking sites are also, we have a huge amount of trust in booking sites because they bring together all the different hotels, all the different airlines in one. And so we can compare them apples for apples, side by side, rather than just going with, here's the ad or here's the price on one particular airline or one particular hotel chain. We can look at lots of them and also see what other people are saying about those hotels, not just what that hotel chain wants to put on their website. Because you can guarantee they will only ever put the good reviews on their website. Whereas on these booking sites, they will put the good, the bad, and the ugly. Now, they're all forms of storytelling. These are all forms of storytelling. Let me show you some examples of how that kind of works. If we look at this as a story, a recommendation, even by a friend, is a story told by someone about something that they have no personal gain from recommending. So if a friend comes and tells you, oh my God, you need to get the new Google Pixel phone because it's going to be amazing, the best camera ever, it's going to be awesome, then you're more likely to look at that. Even if you're an Apple user or a Samsung user, you're more likely to take a look at it because a friend who you trust their opinion has brought that to you. An influencer is trusted by their followers to tell stories that appear authentic and aspirational. There's a very big lean towards the aspirational. The influencer is living this amazing life that you wish you could. They go to the amazing restaurants. They have the gorgeous friends. They go to the best clubs. They stay in the hottest hotels. They go to the most beautiful scenery and waterfalls to take photos of themselves. They have this aspirational lifestyle. So you tend to look up to them and go, wow, I love what they're doing so much. I'm going to trust what they say. And because because they're putting themselves in the picture so much, it appears a bit more authentic, even though we don't think they're authentic because they're pumped full of Botox and plastic surgery. Now, that's not all influencers naturally. That's just a certain subset. But even if that's the case, we're more likely to trust them because we feel like we have sort of a rapport or some kind of relationship with that particular person. And when it comes to friends, the intimacy and trust that friends have between each other means that stories are trusted as truth between them. So it's not like it's a story that's being told like a tall tale, like, oh yeah, I caught a fish that's this big, when really you caught a fish that's that big, or never caught a fish at all. Because you have intimacy and trust between yourself and a friend, you're far more likely to trust the stories they tell as being truthful and something you can rely upon. So all those things we're talking about They're all forms of storytelling. It's just that depending on where the story comes from is whether we then believe in that story or not. And of course, these aggregator sites and booking sites, they use the story, they leverage the stories and the reviews and the recommendations of other people to help you make a better choice. So if you see that there's 37 people all absolutely panning this hotel as being an absolutely horrific hotel, you'll most likely not to stay there, right? Or to book it. But if you see a hotel that's got 36, 4 and 5 star reviews, people saying that it's actually a gorgeous place to stay, really close to everything, you're feeling much more reassured to go and do that. But now we get the concept of storytelling. We understand too that it's a strategic marketing approach. And Park Howell, who's a big sort of pioneer in this whole storytelling as business thing, he says that it's an approach that creates a brand experience through things like audio, through visuals, so video, and immersive storytelling. So where you draw people into a story where they actually become the center of the story, not yourself or your business. And it's that ability to be able to bring someone into your story, so that they can relate to something that's being told in there, that becomes the background that drives engagement that ultimately leads to you making sales, making bookings, and making profit. So it all sounds very nebulous. I know it all sounds really, really out there and in the clouds and in fairy tale land. A lot of this will make a lot more sense once you start to explore the idea of story through processes like Donald Miller's story brand, for instance. It's a very good way of unpacking what these stories might be and how to use the right words to explain what a story is and what your position is. Ultimately, you're going to ask yourself, how do we pull off this story thing? So one of the first things we're going to do is look at the fact that we need to be doing more jabbing and far less right hooking. The right hook, we remember, is the one you do a lot of. It's the one that softens them up for the big blow later on. The right hook aims to self-promote. Sorry, there's right hook's the big boom at the end. Sorry. So that's the one you've already been softened up for. Now it aims to self-promote itself. It wants the sale right now. It's all about us, the business, right? It's nothing about the customer, but the jab is very much about that. So the jab happens more often. Often in the case of jab, 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 right hook. So 3 jabs before you even do an right hook. So you ask, you give, you give, you give before you ask for something. Actually goes out a lot further. The most successful brands today are doing probably 9 jabs for every right hook. The reaching out for a sale or some sort of promotion is quite low down on the list of things they actually want to achieve. What they really want to do is present the story, insert the customer in the story, make sure that it relates to the customer far more often. What you need to do is gain attention. So if it's on the social feed, you gain attention by speaking directly to that customer in language and context that they understand and can relate to in their life where they're at right now. That triggers an emotional response because it's all about them. It's not all about you and your product. It's all about them and the problem that they want to overcome. So someone like Harvey Norman, they're very, very right hook oriented. Everything they do is a right hook. This weekend only, get to this sale. It's always a sale. It's only this weekend. You'll only get that price this weekend. It's the biggest and the best. We're the biggest retailer in town. They're actually Australia's biggest retailer. That's actually true. I guess Wesfarmers and Woolworths, I guess in a bigger sense, as a whole company are, but as a single brand, Harvey Norman are the biggest retailer in the company. But to get there, to be that constant right hooking brand that's currently always going in for the sale, they have to spend $250 million every year on advertising to do it. So it's not like it's something which they can do organically. It's not like it's something that they can just do because, oh yeah, we're able to put this as free posts on our Facebook page. They actually have to spend a hell of a lot of money on TV, on radio, print advertising, catalogs that go inside newspapers, bus shelters, backs of buses, fronts of buses, sides of buses, airport billboards, and then that's not even including what they have to do online as well. So despite that, of being the right hook oriented brand and spending $250 million of advertising every year, they are still outside the top 10 trusted brands. Now, the second biggest advertiser in Australia after Harvey Norman is Telstra. Telstra are a huge advertiser, but they are the number 1 brand in Australia of Australian brands the number one brand in Australia. They spend half of what Harvey Norman does. And you'd look at that and go, well, why is that? Because quite often Telstra, their advertising is inviting you into more of a story. It shows you the benefits of what you get when you use a Telstra product. It doesn't focus on this phone is the thing to get you there. Their advertising, particularly video advertising, online advertising, television advertising, even radio advertising, is inserting themselves into your life gently rather than saying this weekend only, get this, get that, get this, get that. We're nearly out. This last weekend only. That sort of stuff doesn't really sit in their approach. They're more of a jab-oriented company. Another jab-oriented country is Red Bull. A country jab-oriented company is Red Bull. Now they sponsor a lot of fun and inspiring events, and they don't actually talk about the actual drink. The days of the Red Bull gives you wings ads, they're about 10 to 12, even 15 years old now. We haven't seen those ads in 10 to 15 years now. They've completely moved away from that. They don't talk about the product or the drink or the benefits of that drink in any of their advertising anymore. All they're about is putting the brand in front of fun, inspiring, very shareable on social media, video recorded events and challenges and stunts that makes them a really highly recognizable brand. So they still spend a huge amount of money. You're talking around about the same amount of money in sponsorship of sports. So like, for instance, in Formula One, every year, $167 million is spent on sponsorship, but they don't advertise. They're not putting ads. They might have like some ads at a racetrack, ads that sit on a Formula One car or on a V8 supercar. But what they don't do is run TV ads anymore. When's the last time you saw an ad for Red Bull? 10 to 15 years ago, right? Very different approach, but very successful thing, because we're all basically starting to get very, very, very annoyed by all these right hooks coming at us. We're really sick of it, to the point where we now understand that this kind of swamping us with messages, swamping us with calls to action and all that is just not working anymore. Businesses that do this, they don't create fans because you can't engage or communicate with someone who's always yelling at you. You cannot become like nobody's a fan of Harvey Norman. I don't know anybody who goes, oh yeah, Harvey Norman's great. I love shopping at Harvey Norman. It's almost like it's a place where you go to because you have to, because no one else seems to have the thing that you want, or because JB Hi-Fi is too far away, or all the other retailers that deal with that are too far away and Harvey Norman's nearby, or it's the only option in your town being a Harvey Norman. So you're not a fan of them because they're always yelling at you, and you can't build a relationship with someone who's constantly yelling a message at you and not listening to you. So why did you in the past recommend a business to a friend or to a colleague? Was it because you had a good experience with that particular brand or that particular business? Or was it because of their advertising? I don't think necessarily people would recommend a business based on advertising, except in the case of they go, we look for a plumber. I remember I saw an ad on TV the other day for a plumber. It might be worth having a look at that one, but they'll never remember who that plumber is. They just remember there was an ad that they saw, something to do with a plumber, 24-hour service, that sort of thing. When it comes to making a big purchase decision, though, we will rarely ever refer someone to a place that was advertised. We'll refer them to somewhere we've had an experience with ourselves, because our relationship with that person is valuable to us. Our relationship with that person is actually the prime reason why they trust us with things like recommendations. So if we were to just tell them, oh, I saw an ad on TV the other day, that has no bearing to that friend. But if you say, actually, we used these guys last year and you saw our back deck, it's amazing. So you might want to use those builders too. That kind of story is far more likely to get someone across the line to go to that business. So a good jab is something which is well timed to the context of where the audience is at. And that's very, very important. It's delivered the right message, delivered at the right time in the right context. It resonates with the audience at an emotional level. It's not throwing facts and figures and price points. It's throwing thoughts and feelings and associations between your product and your service and the person who may use them. It primes your audience and brings them in closer to you to have a relationship, so that they will trust you more when you do happen to show them, here's what I want to sell you. because they truly believe that you can solve their problem, because they truly believe that you have the credibility and the emotional capacity to connect with them enough to solve their problem, even if it's just buying a lounge suite. They'll trust you more because you took the time to understand them as a person. And a lot of this sits in, again, the Donald Miller story brand process, which I did a webinar on a couple, I think it was last week. And yeah, had tons of people wanting to do the story brand process with me as one of their ASBAS digital solutions sessions after that, to the point where I don't even know if I've got time to do any more this month. It's crazy. July, what a month. So most businesses, our next point, don't understand social media. They just don't get it. And like, why would they? It's a weird thing. It's where people are constantly telling us too much about their lives and constantly sharing photos of what they ate, the photos of their children, photos of their dogs and cats, and stupid memes that we don't even understand. We just feel like business doesn't understand social media, and rightly so, they don't, because this is how they see the opportunity of social media. It's about putting out lots of sales and offers and buy now and get this hot deal, and it's all about trying to badger you into buying something that they never in real life would do. They're not going to be that person who at a barbecue walks in and said, "Hey, come and buy my television. It's really great value. Here's all the features. It's got access to all the different channels, not one, not two, but three HDMI inputs. So you can plug in all sorts of sources." If that sort of person started talking to you at a barbecue, you'd walk away from them, probably tell the host of the barbecue, "Mate, there's a dude over here just doing nothing but trying to sell his bloody TVs." If that was the idea of how to advertise and how to bring some knowledge across or some relationship across, it would vastly fail, and it does vastly fail. This is not what social media is about. Social media is all about understanding how to tell your story in the language that each of those different platforms speaks with. This is a little bit about context. We don't understand the language of social media. Therefore, and by language, I say, yeah, we're all doing it in English. I get that. But the language of social media is the way that a story is presented, the way that a message is presented is very different from one to the other. So, for instance, what you will say on Facebook may not be the same as you say on Pinterest. What you say on Pinterest may not be the same as you say on YouTube, because it's a very different video platform. But the videos you put on YouTube are too long to go on TikTok or maybe Instagram Reels. So there's a different set of circumstances, a different rule book for each of these social media platforms. Now, do you have to be on all of them? Absolutely not. In fact, you'd be mad if you were. It's so bad at the point that when TikTok opened their Australian office and started offering advertising to Australian businesses, they had to go on an education campaign through Facebook to advertise TikTok ads, which sounds bizarre. They use Facebook ads to advertise TikTok advertising. So they're a competitor advertising on another platform. And that whole thing was about, don't make ads, make TikToks. So they had to get people out of this mindset that they've come across from Facebook, where they make ads and boosted posts and they're just full of buy this, buy this, buy this, book me, book me, book me, without adding any value to the customer at all. Whereas TikTok says that won't work. In fact, we're not going to even approve ads that are like that. They've actually got what they call a not interesting enough score. So when you put your ad in, they will disapprove your ad for not being interesting enough. Now, this is a platform, TikTok, right? You cannot advertise on TikTok for anything less than $3,000 per month. $3,000 a month. Not really a small business platform, then, is it? Really? The idea then is that it kicks out all those people who are really terrible at making ads. And I'll tell you who's really terrible at making ads. Unfortunately, small business. We're terrible at it. We're really, really bad at it, because we treat it like it's like television or radio from when we grew up. So when we were on radio and TV, it was all about product, price, and promotion. So know what your product is, know what your price is, that it's competitive, and know how to promote it through, the channels that we've got in there, and just flood the airwaves with reach and frequency, which is, the most amount of people we can get out to the most amount of times. You basically annoy and badger people into buying your stuff. The whole idea of it's the friend who goes to the barbecue, badgers you about their network marketing scheme or the MLM, and you eventually just to shut them up, say, yeah, sure, I'll come to your stupid presentation. And then you turn up to that presentation and they're hoping against all hope that you're also going to be that compliant to sign up for it and pay the $1,000 entry fee to get in there, to join your network marketing scheme or scam. This is not what works on social media. It's not, and it's what so many of the sales gurus are trying to force through, to get to the biggest possible audience you can, and then they'll sign on to your scammy, spammy project. It's not going to work. Number one reason why it's not going to work is we sit on these computers. I'm sitting on one now. I'm presenting this on a computer, and chances are you're watching this on a computer. But over 80% of online content isn't consumed on computers. It's consumed on mobile phones. Now, we as businesses, we tend to consume a lot of stuff on things like laptop computers and iPads. But the general public consume this stuff on mobile phones. In fact, the vast majority, 80% or more, now consume all this stuff on their mobile phones. And the thing that they will consume on mobile phones is the most connecting and emotional content, which is video. It's the stuff that we see ourselves in, or we see someone we know. You know, I don't know this woman here, but I feel like I know people who are like her. I know people who, you know, who smile when they interact with technology and family and friends on things like social media. It connects them to a world they may have felt they were a little separated from. So it's one of those things where you've got to go, okay, if I'm trying to connect with people, do I do that by yelling at them about what my product is? Do I get that by yelling at them what my price point is? Do I get that by constantly promoting myself? Well, probably not. You've got to think of yourself as that person at the barbecue who's meeting people for the first time and yelling at them to join their network marketing scheme or to buy that television. That's not what we're there at the barbecue for. We're not at the social media barbecue to be told what we should be buying. Which brings me to another point, that even though we are thoroughly, completely immersed in the Facebook world and have been for quite some time now, we still really as businesses don't understand what Facebook actually is. People on Facebook are there to catch up with friends and family, to sign on for events of interest in their community, or to be entertained by funny videos and funny quips that people do. My social media feed, my Facebook personal feed, is pretty much all about me being funny, pretty much about me going, here's a wonderful place I've gone to, here's an airport I'm walking through. Because if you've ever really gone to an airport, if you haven't shared it on social media, come on, really, truly. So I do a lot of that, or I'm doing lots of text, which is actually being funny, having to subdue a cough. Then I was going to cough really nastily. We've got to doing being funny and being witty. That's what I really enjoy doing. I'm not there for the small businesses self-serving posts and advertising. It's just not going to cut through to me. In fact, I think I've seen maybe one ad from a local business in maybe the last month. And I live in Darwin, where there's tons of people doing Facebook ads, but I'm not seeing them because I'm clearly not interested in those things. Facebook knows I'm not interested, so it doesn't even serve those ads through to me. The things where there's some cafe yelling out about how they're wanting to sell their Lamingtons for just $2 each, never see it. That mechanic who's got a constant ad running that's trying to yell at me to change my oil with them and I'll get a free tire pressure check, never see it. The Harvey Norman ads that are coming through and saying there's a big sale on this weekend on 60-inch plasma screen TVs, or not plasmas anymore, they're OLED TVs. I don't see any of that because it knows that I'm not interested in it, because I'm not there for those kind of things. I'm there to learn about new systems and connect with new people who are of interest in my world, in my community, in my friend circles. And that's what it gets served through to me. It gets, because I do very witty comedy-based content, then so too, I get a lot of content from others that's very witty and comedy-based as well. We're not on there to see posts from businesses who are trying to sell us something. We're there to catch up with friends and family, or to find a bit of diversion or a bit of entertainment away from our everyday lives. Just like in life, you become a friend by listening to someone, not talking to them. You don't talk over the top of people. You become a friend with someone by understanding who they are and sort of adjusting your approach for that over time, because that's what friendship is: a little bit of compromise, a little bit of give, a little bit of take. And you bring something of value to the friendship. I've had to dump friends in the past who bring nothing to the table. They just come in and they just like oxygen thieves and emotional vampires. They just suck the life out of you. And that's almost like what a business tries to do. They want to talk all the time. They don't care who you are. They just want to sell you something. And they're never bringing anything of value to the relationship. They're saying, buy my thing because that's what I want you to do. It's a very selfish, emotional vampire of a relationship. It's parasitic. So instead, you become a friend by listening, not just talking. And you do that by using things in Facebook like the insights. So you use insights and audience insights. Both are great tools within Facebook that allow you to see what other people are about, to see if your target audience out there actually gives a damn about the things you think they give a damn about. And if they don't give a damn about the things that you want to sell, then you may have to reposition how you communicate with them. The second one, becoming a friend by understanding who they are and adjusting for that, is understanding who your target customer is. Having some kind of idea of who the person is you're trying to sell to at the moment, because most of the time we have no idea who we're throwing that message out to. We're just throwing it out to, who's my target audience? Anyone who wants to buy a burger, anyone who wants to get their car fixed, anyone who wants to join a women's sacred circle and talk about our issues and overcome them. That's not a target customer. That's not an audience you're trying to target. What you're trying to do is target people according to the things you learn in the insights. What is going on in your town? Go to Audience Insights. Seriously, look it up, Facebook Audience Insights. And it's a great tool that allows you to unpack in your town, in your state, in your country, what exactly it is that people have interest in. And you look at it and go, huh, so they're not really interested in my widget. They're not really interested in doing the thing I'm doing. But what are the things they are interested in? Huh. So they really seem to be interested in that organic food market, or they're really interested in that farmer's market, or they're really interested in this particular brand of soap. So how do I take that and turn that into something of interest? Well, if they're already interested in those things, you bring those into your story. So you're not necessarily bringing a competitive product to your story, but you're bringing something in there that they get and understand and recognize, because they do not know who you are. So they have no reason to trust you when they see a message from you. But you bring in something that they do trust and know, which is the fact that you're in their town, the fact that you use the same cafe that they go to, the fact that you shop in the same shopping center that they may shop in. It becomes more familiar and more safe for them. They're not dealing with someone who's way outside their sphere of influence, that has big teeth and big hair and a very strong American accent. They're dealing with someone who feels like home. But then if you're bringing something to the value to the friendship, you have to bring some content into it. You do not want to be that person who turns up to the barbecue and everyone is asked to bring a plate and you brought nothing. You're not bringing value to that friendship. You're not bringing some content. And the content, then we'll look at a bit more in context very, very shortly, is got to be something of value to the person who's sitting across you. It's got to be something of value to the person who you hope to build that relationship with. And you do that by 3 different kinds of posts that you might produce. The first one being engaging posts, which gets attention. So it's so related to who they are as a person and the things that they value and the things that are important to them, or where they live or the things they do, that they can't help but notice it. It's like, for instance, you're on social media and you've been away from town for a couple of months on a work trip, and suddenly you see a photo of your hometown and you go, oh, I can't wait to get home. That feeling of home, that feeling of comfort, that feeling of safety, that feeling of being reminded of something that you do know and love. That's what engagement is. Engagement is engaging someone's attention because of something they see that's either familiar, interesting, or has some impact on their life at the moment. The second kind of post is an educational post, and the educational posts pique further curiosity in that thing. So they've been given attention of this thing that you do, and they're like, huh, okay, that makes sense to me. That has some kind of relationship to what I'm going through in life right now. So this next post is one that takes that attention, takes that engagement to the next level. You've already reached them, They've already recognized who you are. Now they're moving down to the point where they're starting to think about what it is you do. So you need to educate them then on the finer points of what you do and how you do it and what the value is. So the engagement might be the big picture of, you can expect to have a better life. You can expect to have a more calm state of mind if you do my counseling course. Then we take them further down what was called the sales funnel. So there's a bit of a reason why I've got that sort of a slope going down is you start off with an engagement post to get attention. Then you go to an educational post that might also be on there. So once they've shown some sort of interest in what you've done, they're more likely to see the next post, which is about taking them further down into understanding more about what it is your product or service is. And finally, the next post is about getting them to act. Now, this could just as easily be done as a set of ads, not just as content that's on Facebook, for instance. The ads could very much be get their attention, retarget that attention with a bit more education, retarget that education with something that encourages them to take action, to book now, to buy now, to shop now, to download menu, whatever the call to action is that's appropriate for your kind of business. The problem is, though, that followers aren't seeing your content very much. They're just not. And that's because it's mostly not relevant to who they are and what they need right now. And that's a hard pill to swallow because you're going, but everyone should know what it is I'm doing. Everyone should have some kind of idea what it is I'm doing. It's so important because, everyone needs to think better about themselves. Everyone needs to have a happier, healthier home. Everyone needs a cleaner bathroom. Everyone needs better clothes for their life to feel good. But if that's not where that person is at, if that's not relevant to who they are, they're not going to see it. Only the most relevant. There's so much content going around every day. People don't just follow you. And quite often I said, well, why, if they follow me, aren't they seeing my stuff? It's because they're not just following you, they're following hundreds of other things, hundreds of people, hundreds of businesses, dozens of groups. And all those things are doing things that are more interesting than what you're doing. They're doing things more tied and tailored to the interests these people have. I watch a lot of Kath and Kim. It's like my unspoken taste in life that I absolutely love watching that show in the background. Any day of the week, I'll have that playing in the background. It's what I do. I do a lot of watching of that show. So likewise, I've joined the Kath and Kim Appreciation Society group on Facebook. And I see so much of their material come up on my feed to the point where some days I have to turn the Facebook tab off on my computer to get a bit of peace because there's so much funny stuff that's coming up that it immediately engages me back into it. So therefore, the more I engage with, the more I'm going to see more Kath and Kim content. The same with things like Star Wars, Star Trek. I'm very engaged with those TV series and movies. So therefore, I see a lot of their stuff coming through. I'm also very engaged in the Boost with Facebook Australia group because Facebook pays me to be there. So I'm meant to be in that group, engaging with people and being a moderator. So I see, again, lots of the stuff that's coming through there because it's of interest to me, very tight, very close, very, very monetary interest to me as well. But what I won't see is the post from the cafe who's selling iced frappuccinos that are now made with soy milk because, that's better for vegans. Because it knows damn well that I'm not a vegan. It knows damn well that I don't live anywhere near that cafe because it's like 40 kilometers away from me. And it knows damn well that I've showed no interest in that particular cafe apart from following it once upon a time when they had a cafe that's much closer to me that I'd actually pass. It knows that it's not on my radar. So, and it also knows too that these people constantly just produce product, ad about their product. And they don't talk to me. I don't care about their different kind of frappuccinos or acai berry bowls or their poke bowls. None of these things are things I'm going to eat. None of these things are things I'm going to drink, and I'm certainly not going to drive 40 kilometers to get them. So why would I see that? Even though I follow that page, why in the hell would I see those posts when they're utterly irrelevant to anything that I'm doing in my life right now? So the next principle is in the jab, 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 right hook methodology is that less is more when it comes to what you're doing on social media. This is the idea that we're a generation of skim readers. Even on a website, we go for the headline. And if we like the headline, we click and we go through, but we don't then read everything in chronological order going, here's the point in the opening paragraph, and we continue to go down. We almost know just by rote that every single first paragraph is full of junk that's not worth reading. It's introductory fluff. We just skip the first paragraph, go to the dot points, because that's where the things are. So dot point 3 is relevant to me. I skim down, find the more information about dot point 3, and that's how I read a website. There could be a ton of other things going on, but I'm not even going to notice them. I'm not even going to see them because they're utterly irrelevant to my life and where I'm going at and why I'm on that website. When you're on social media, you basically have about 2 to 3 seconds at most to get attention from someone who's thumbing on the way through the screen, because that's how we use social media. We thumb, we thumb, we thumb, we thumb, we thumb. We just go through looking for something that's going to get our attention. And usually that thing that gets our attention either has a lot of brightness to it, or if it had like a bunch of if it has a if it has something that's highly relevant to me, so it's showing things I'm familiar with, or something which I've actually got a relationship with now. So that coffee brand might actually get through to me if I'm really, really hot on coffee right now. I'm having a coffee day where I'm searching for coffee, I'm looking for coffee, I'm interacting with coffee content on social media. They might have a chance of getting through to me on that day. But until then, not a chance of reaching me, because I'm just simply not thinking about coffee. I've got my coffee cup here, and it's just usually made with either Nespresso pods that I bought. I found a new a company that actually makes completely plant-based plastic pods, so they are all completely biodegradable, which is amazing. So I just look at that and go, well, that makes sense to me. I'll buy those things. But once we've got their attention, we then have another 2 seconds to 3 seconds at most to interest them in what's going on. So once they scroll and stop, we've got 2 seconds to get them to go further enough to tap on something to go and look at some content or play a video that may be of interest to them. So just because they've stopped, just because their thumb has stopped at you, doesn't mean they're necessarily going to go through and do the thing you want them to do. So you've got 2 seconds to make them stop. You've got 2 seconds to make them feel interested enough to do the next step. You have got so little time to work with. So it makes sense then to really understand what makes your potential customer tick, what makes them actually think it. So you don't do that by having long reams of text and tons of emojis and dot points made from emojis, and then more emojis upon emojis and lots of lists of features and benefits. Simple, concise text that gets right to the point and clearly points out its purpose and makes it easy and simple to take that next step. That's the stuff that works. The problem with some of the coaches out there trying to tell people to write these very long format social media posts is that you have to then form those into things like ads that go out to literally millions of people. You have to pay for that thing to reach as many people as you possibly can. You have to spend hundreds to thousands of dollars per month to get enough reach, to get to enough people who are going to be suckers who will actually reach through that thing, because there's so few people ever will, to then go through and do the thing you want them to do, which is usually to sign up for a coaching course or sign up for a consultation or to attend a workshop or something like that, or to join a program, to do something with like an online course. Those sort of things work with so few people. You have to pay a fortune to reach millions of people before you'll get the very few people who will come across and not just continue to read it, click on it to go through to the more information, then read your long format squeeze page that's going to then allow them to go, oh yeah, I'm going to sign up for this. This makes sense to me. Simple, concise text works more often. It gets right to the point. It clearly points out its purpose. That clarity is so important, because without that clarity, you're just a bunch of words just being thrown around, and it makes it so simple. Having some sort of call to action, something as simple as our new brunch range looks delicious, doesn't it? Order now, is as equally as engaging as, you know, having a great video that actually shows that brunch range, or a photo that shows that brunch range. But simply going in there and going in saying our new brunch range is awesome, and here's all the list of ingredients you're going to absolutely love, and it lists off about 50 ingredients with emoji dot points all the way down, and then explaining how the ingredients are sourced from local farmers and local markets, and no one cares. Just get to the point. Get to the point clearly by stating your purpose and get out, because that's what your followers are going to do too. To quote the great man Gary Vee, I'm a bit of a love him, hate him person. I sometimes love his stuff. I sometimes hate his stuff. Sometimes I need a hit of it just to remind me of the simplicity of his message. Sometimes I just like, dude, can you stop swearing, please? Stop thinking about your content as content. Think about it rather as micro content, tiny, unique nuggets of information, humor, commentary, or inspiration that you reimagine every single day. The next lesson: content may be king, but context is God. What this means is that Facebook is not the same as Instagram. The people on it are different. The people on it are doing different things on it. So, for instance, we go to Facebook to get with family and friends. We don't do that with Instagram. We follow things that are aspirational, things that we love, the things that we have a taste for, the things that we think are going to be like really, really cool. I wish I could do that. I wish I could go there, eat that, meet that person. You know, we find everyone who we find sexy. I'm sick of Instagram throwing up the most perfectly beautiful people in front of me, because all it does is make me feel like crap for putting on so much weight in the last 4 years, right? Well, maybe that's the point. It's trying to get me to move and lose some weight and look as beautiful as they are. But the reality is I'm 47 years old. I'm not going to look like a 22-year-old gym influencer anytime soon. And I don't think I want to. The work it would take. And then I'd get, look, it's just not going to work. But on Facebook, I don't see any of that stuff. On Facebook, I'm mostly there to interact with the people I know and love, the people who I have some kind of relationship with, some kind of rapport with. I don't really have a lot of rapport with a lot of the people who are on Instagram, because most of them are overseas and I don't really have much of a relationship with them at all. Occasionally, someone I know will send me a message on Instagram because it's got like a disappearing 30-second message or something, but that's really about it. In the same way, these guys are not the same. A short, sharp message on Twitter that's very political in nature doesn't necessarily translate to TikTok, which needs a short, sharp video message that will say what you want it to say. Or it needs to be very entertaining and very, very TikTok is 100% about engagement. You have to get attention within a second. If you don't get that and you don't have the right music that right now people are wanting to listen to, that actually has some sort of ironic, really cool sort of link to what you're doing, but not really, because it's not, you don't want to try too hard. But if you don't try hard enough, it's a hard platform to master. I'm not going to lie with you about that. What I do on TikTok is vastly different to what I do on these other systems. What I do on Facebook is deliver all these videos that I make through Asbas Digital Solutions. They get repurposed for my Facebook page. On Instagram, though, I've got simple graphics with very, very simple, quick, short, sharp messages about how you can improve your game on social media or in other parts of the digital world. But then when I get to Twitter, I don't do anything. I've got a Twitter profile which just takes an automatic feed of what I put through on LinkedIn. But on TikTok, I don't do any of that stuff. On TikTok, all I do is make videos about the places I'm going. So what I do is I always get if I'm flying out to somewhere, I always get a window seat. The reason I get a window seat is I get my phone and I point it out the window and I take 15 seconds of footage of what we're passing, what we're flying over, the takeoff, the landing, all that sort of thing. And it gives me about, over the course of a 4-hour flight to somewhere like Brisbane, it might give me around about, I don't know, a minute's worth of content. Then I go into TikTok, I stitch all that together as the plane lands, and I've got some mobile coverage, and I match it with some music that automatically makes it jump between the scenes. And what it creates is this feed that's pretty much just full of when I'm going places. That's all I produce. Now, what value has that got to my business? A little bit, maybe. But I'll get 900 to 1,000, 1,700 views on one of those videos, as opposed to my videos on my Facebook page getting 3, 4, 5, maybe 60 views at top. I'm getting so much more coverage on my TikTok views. So what do? I use that then as just this is just another place where I produce a different kind of content that reaches a different kind of person, that just adds into the big cauldron of all the things I'm doing for marketing on different platforms. Likewise, what I do on YouTube is very much repurpose videos. From this video, for instance, will be on YouTube within 2 hours. But LinkedIn is a place where I will put those on as well, but I'll add the context of more written content. People like to read on LinkedIn, so I add more writing to it. Whereas YouTube will just have a quick, short, sharp caption. Facebook will have a quick, short, sharp caption. But on LinkedIn, I'll write a little bit more detail about what this is about and match it with a story. I'll tell a story about why I did jab, 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 right hook, why that's important to me, and how I discovered that this was actually really good for my business as well. So as you move through those platforms, you have to understand that you have to differentiate your content just a little bit. You can't just produce the same thing and send it out to everything. And if you really, really don't have time, because you can't differentiate your content between platforms, because let's face it, your business isn't social media. Your business is doing whatever it is you do. So reduce the platforms you're on. Don't try to be on everything. You're not Gary Vaynerchuk with a marketing team of 60 people to work for him. You're having someone with a camera following him around all day and all night. They are not him. And you don't necessarily need to be him, but you do need to differentiate your content. What goes on Facebook is not what goes on Instagram. What goes on Instagram is not what goes on LinkedIn. It's not what goes on TikTok. So making sure you have something which is in the context of the audience that are on that platform, how they consume information, how they consume things that engage them or educate them or excite them, are going to be very, very different on those different platforms. If you can't do it on 3 platforms, do it on 2. Just do Facebook and Instagram. They're the 2 biggest. Or if you're business to business, do it on maybe LinkedIn and Facebook, or Instagram and LinkedIn. Just pick your programs you want to be on, and the ones that you feel most confidently that you can reach correctly and within the right context, and double down on those. Don't try to be everything on every platform, because it's really going to fail for you. And the final quest we have to go through as part of the jab, 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 right hook, based upon the book and a lot of his videos as well, I picked up that social media is not a distribution channel for all our spam. That's a big can of spam there. That's actually making me hungry for lunch. How far away from lunch am I? Just over half an hour. Good. That's good. Social media marketing is not the same as email marketing. It's not the same as banner ads on websites. They're completely different beasts with completely different approaches. And that's largely because things like email marketing and banner ads and graphic ads, or they call display ads on websites, are kind of dead. The first example would be that average open rates for email, for marketing letters to newsletters to marketing messages to being on a list, has dropped recently. We used to quote the 22% mark. So the scary thing is that if only 22% are seeing it, 78% are not seeing your emails. That's frightening for the amount of email addresses you have to reach just 22% of them. But that recently dropped. Even places like MailChimp, Sendinblue, a lot of MailGrid, a lot of those large Active Campaign, Constant Contact, they've noticed it too. It's dropped again, 22% down to 18%. It's becoming harder and harder for those email marketing platforms and HubSpot and all those guys that rely very much on the integration of badgering people by email to buy your stuff. It's becoming really hard to justify the expense and justify the time it takes to build really effective email marketing campaigns when less than 20% of people are now ever actually seeing that email or opening it. They either go straight to their spam. Like with me, I joined a newsletter, it goes straight to spam. There's very few things that come through to my inbox anymore that come from a business, unless it's an individual person emailing me individually from that business. If I'm on a mail list, my Google email boxes, they automatically know, just spam the crap out of that, because you're never going to read it. They also know that there's certain ones that do get through, and they're the ones that I do read. So there's some places where newsletters and email marketing does get through to me, but they're only the things that are super relevant to what I do and what I'm doing. And I've always had that relationship with that newsletter. The first time I got that newsletter, I read it and enjoyed it and continue to this day. But most of them, they just never get to me. There's also a phenomenon called banner blindness, and it's a very common thing with websites now. It means that there's almost nobody noticing display ads on websites anymore, even if they've taken over the whole page like news.com.au tends to do with their newspaper websites. I don't see the stuff. I've been on 3 news sites this morning, and I do not remember for the life of me any of the ads that I would have seen. And in one of them, I just remember there was this like overwhelming takeover of the website. I was like, whoa, there's a lot of that going on. I moved straight past it. I don't even remember who it was. It was completely wasted on me. And these display ads are completely wasted on most people because we just don't see them anymore. What we use are things like heat maps or hotspots or studies that undergo software that reads where people notice. So things that through a camera will notice where people's eyes go to. So they know, for instance, that almost nobody has seen the Create the Kitchen of Your Dreams ad up the top from Jen Air. They don't even look at those all those pictures of mason jars. They don't notice the what's escrow mean anyway ad on the right hand side. In fact, the right hand side column doesn't even get noticed. It takes it down to where you get to that first lot of text down the bottom here, that finally the hotspot gets reached. We've now learned that everything up here is just junk. Everything down here is just junk that's just clamoring to get our attention. So we go straight to the thing that matters. A similar thing happens on Google ads. You go to Google and you type in what you're looking for, you get 3 lots of ads. Heat map studies like this have shown time and time again that people skip the ads and go straight down to either the map, or they go straight below that as well, because they don't even trust that, to the organic search results down the bottom. It's a real problem for Google because obviously they sell that ad space. And why we don't trust those ads at the top is because they don't often reflect what we're actually looking for. And so it's to the point now where a lot of businesses, if they get looked for directly, so let's say Jim's Plumbing. So Jim's Plumbing gets looked. Jim's Plumbing in West Perth. So Jim's Plumbing West Perth, we look for them, and then we see ads for all these other people. Jim's Plumbing is now paying for one of those ads just to push down at least one of the other competitors from being there. If they appear down here, the problem is though, for Google, most people skip all the ads anyway and go straight down to the point of what they're looking for. So that banner blindness means that things like display ads are simply not working for us anymore. The similar thing now is happening to social media. Reach for businesses has dropped on many social media platforms. It's not just Facebook, it's Instagram. It's not just Instagram, it's LinkedIn. It's also TikTok. Businesses are experiencing a massive drop in what they're going to reach through with people with on TikTok. Now, why is this? Well, I'd say probably because what they're producing is rubbish. What they're producing is utterly unmatched to what people are actually expecting. So let's say, go back to Facebook, for instance. We're producing more ads that tell us when we're open, what specials we got. Oh, look at this new product. Instagram is, look at how good I am. Look at how amazing I look. Look at this amazing dress and these beautiful shoes. LinkedIn is, let me tell you about how amazing and knowledgeable I am in this little article I'm going to write about myself and what I do. And in TikTok, we go on there and try and replicate all of that into a short format 15-second video, up to a minute in video, and try to think of how interesting it is me walking through my workshop showing you how I make cabinets. Unless you're showing me the process of making the cabinets in a very inspiring and intuitive way that shows it all match to music, I don't care how you make your cabinets, mate, because it has no relevance to me. So as we wrap it up for this morning, the takeaways that you will have with the jab, right hook methodology is that you've got to produce more content of value and less of promotion. You're going to produce stuff that actually engages people and notice you, educates them enough to go further into a relationship with you, and finally helps them to easily buy the thing you want them to buy. Secondly, the more you give, the more you'll get over time. So as you give more of this value, then more people get to know you over time. Now, it will not happen straight away. Do not try and make this work within a month or even 3 months. It's going to take 6 to 12 months for this to really, really pay off. I know that's a long time to wait, but all good things take time. Get rich quick doesn't exist. Understand why people are on social media. They're not on social media to see your message. They're on there to connect with friends, to be entertained. They're not there to necessarily hear about the changes to your wine list at your bar. And then deliver simple content that sits within the context of the person who you're trying to reach. If you're trying to reach a woman who's 35 years old and at the peak, coming to the peak of her career, so she needs to look good and wants to look good, you need to speak to that 35-year-old woman who wants to look good, wants to buy great things, and needs to be like on fire and on top of things as she goes up in her career. If you're just delivering something generic, it reaches no one. That whole Emperor's New Clothes, if you remember that fable, when you try to please all, you will please none. That's what the emperor found out very, 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 very violently when he pretty much was talked into walking down naked down the street. When you try to please everybody by being super generic, you will not please anyone. Get specific about the person you're trying to do. Use the story brand methodology. Get a story brand person to go through one-to-one with you to show you how to work those things out, and you'll get a much better idea about who it is you're trying to reach. So you've got the context of where they're at and what they're doing and what to deliver them in terms of content. Thank you so much for joining me. My email address is on screen. You can stalk me all you want on social media. I really don't mind. And if you'd like to book me in for one of those story brand kind of sessions, or to have a chat about how to engage people better on social media of all varieties, not just Facebook, because it's one of the jobs I do, please do reach out through the ASBAS Digital Solutions portal, or just book me. I still got some available in the last week of this month. So I look forward to seeing your booking come through. And I really hope you'll see more of this material coming through in the next month. The ASBAS Solutions program does change a little bit, but it's actually not too bad, because it's going into a point now where it's going to be more use to more people. And you'll still be able to do things like these webinars and workshops absolutely for free. So please do follow the program, and I hope to see you in the next one of these videos.